I don't know that I'm motivated by the same kinds of things that most students are. I like trying to come up with an interesting way or clever way of doing something complicated recursively, some sort of math trick that allows me to do something in less time. That's what I like to do for fun. I can think of one teacher who motivated me by implying in a professional way that I was incapable. And even though I was aware that he was doing it as a motivational technique, it was still effective. He would imply that I was incapable of becoming a mathematician. And I know that he didn't think that. And even though I knew I was dancing to his song, I was still willing to dance because he cared enough to issue the challenge, I suppose. I knew that he thought enough of me to try a psychological ploy to get me to work harder. I hate busy work. I'm a mathematics major, so most of my instructors don't require as much busy work as a lot of other majors probably do. A great deal of what I do is unnecessary towards the objective of understanding the material. I mean, I think I dislike being forced to do anything that is not really beneficial and not really necessary. To be fair, I usually try to challenge my instructor and appeal to their sort of romantic understanding of what education should be, and that my grade should be indicative of my understanding of the material. I would love nothing more than to prove my understanding of the material on the final. Frequently this works just fine. That's usually how I get out of it. If they don't go for it, then it's nothing more complicated than the consequences of not outweigh the burden of doing it. This is probably a prototypical example of every instance. But I had a professor who taught an introductory course in writing proofs. There's no formula to follow. It's how do you prove something. I would spend a great deal of time trying to write proofs that weren't necessarily the obvious way. And I put a lot of effort into it, and he wouldn't read them. He would just say, just do what I said. But it sort of discouraged me from trying. I was very motivated in the course until that point, and then when I realized after the second time that he wasn't actually going to grade my proofs, then lost all interest. But I can't say what I want to say because of my audience. I think education is a farce. At one point in history, educators were gatekeepers of knowledge, and it was not a metaphor. They really were. You had to have access to a library and experts on subjects, and it's just not true anymore. I wanted to take a course that's technically an electrical engineering course that deals with signal analysis, which is a field of mathematics. And they said I didn't have the prerequisites. If this was 40 years ago, I would have been out of luck. It would have been impossible to obtain the information. But we don't live 40 years ago. And I said okay, and I went online and I did the course myself. I did video lectures, did the tests, did all the homework, got the exact same education. There's no gatekeepers of knowledge. There are gatekeepers, but they're not educators. It's just not necessary anymore. Now, most people don't have the self-control or the interest, the genuine interest to actually do that. The information's out there. You cannot motivate people to want to learn. Either they do or they don't.